And good morning, and it's time for Politically Speaking with your host, Larry Novak. Heard every Saturday morning at 11:05. Join in by calling 508-822-1106. It's time for Larry Novak and Politically Speaking.
This is Larry Novak with Politically Speaking, and it's a beautiful day. It's a Saturday, and the weather is improved, and we don't have ice everywhere, which is a good thing. But we're going to discuss politics today, which we always do every Saturday, and one of the races I'm going to look at is the school committee fight in Ward 3. If there is going to be a school committee fight, it would be against Alan Green versus the incumbent, Mark D'Angelo, which he's been a visible incumbent. Alan's been more active in the community, but those are low visibility races and tend to require a lot of money sunk in if you're going to beat an incumbent, because nobody knows what school committee does, nor do they care. Which is a terrible, terrible thing. So, I mean, Alan Green has been active in Brockton for a number of years. He probably isn't as well known as he once was. He owned the Green Sunoco station on Belmont Street for a number of years. And he's now faded into the woodwork in the last couple of years. But he is now coming back out swinging to take a seat. Two Republicans fighting for the Ward 3 school committee seat. Both are registered Republicans. It will be an interesting race, and I'm sure the Democrats would have a shot. It will be probably a three-way fight, and we'll have to see who the two finalists are. It will be an interesting fight uphill for Allen. It surely will cause a lot of attention to the race because it's the city of Brockton, and it's unusual to have two Republicans fighting one another. Since there are so few of us in the city that we could probably caucus in a phone booth. It's so weak in the city. But you know, you continue to fight. You fight for another day. You articulate the issues you believe in. I think you'll see Alan come out more pro-student. Mark's wife works in the school department, and I don't think he's allowed under the law to vote on the budget because it would affect her pay and her salary. So those things he's not allowed to do. So that is one of the issues Alan intends to raise. He wants to be a full-time, he wants the school committee man to be able to vote on every issue. We will see that. We have also seen the president, a lot of people think he caved in on the wall. National leading conservatives are all saying it. 40 senators are putting a letter to him that he caved in, Republican senators. Not good if that's the case. It means the entire Republican Party is coming out against him. Not good. They should show unity. They should continue the fight. The wall should be built. In the long term, Nancy Pelosi came across as a winner in this battle, but her vision of America isn't the vision that everyone else has. Her vision is a San Francisco-based vision of extreme liberalism. But she, what people don't know, Nancy Pelosi is one of the wealthiest women in America. Her husband's fortune exceeds, as I understand, over $250 million. So she does not understand the needs of the average person. She cannot relate to car payments, mortgage payments, etc. She is so wealthy that she just doesn't think in those terms. So I think you have to look and examine her core values. What are they? Will the wall work? Walls have been built for centuries. The Great Wall of China was built to keep out the invaders. It worked. You had walls that have been built to maintain cities for years, and they worked. They kept out intruders. So, you have to look at it. Is it an anti-Trump thing? Nancy Pelosi supported the wall before Trump became president. Is she now opposing it for just political reasons? And if she is, shame on you, Nancy. You should be bigger and better. You should do what is in the best interest of the citizens of America, who want secured borders, who don't want illegal immigrants pouring into America. The money that we would spend on them could go to the infrastructure of the United States. The broken roads, the broken bridges. Let's think of America first. Let's promote American values first. I think the president is right. In Venezuela, the country is collapsing, one of the wealthiest countries in South America. And the social programs of the left have driven the country into receivership. The country cannot afford medicine. It can't afford people are fleeing the country. A new wonderful socialist paradise. There's no food on the shelves. They've done such a wonderful job leading the country, the left, and they're trying to hang in by every means possible. They're stacking the military to fight to hold on to power in the Venezuela. I think that you'll see very shortly military action being taken by the United States for an invasion of Venezuela to topple the government for humanitarian reasons. If they don't, the people will starve to death. The government of Venezuela is a bunch of crooks stealing everything that isn't nailed down. We need to help the Venezuela people overthrow a tyrant. We need to do everything that's humanly possible to help them to get their freedoms back. You can be jailed for speaking out against the government. Even if you have no food and you complain about it, you can be jailed in Venezuela. Shame, shame, shame. But then we go to our own country and we have the highest jailed population in the world. We now hold 25% of the world's jailed population is in America. So it tells you that there's something wrong with our criminal justice system. We have more people in jail than Communist China and Russia combined. We outnumber our jail population as almost 10-1 to theirs. Well, it tells you that what we think is freedom, the left has now written laws to imprison people for. This is not helpful. It is not the country that our forefathers founded. They talked about building a free country where you could speak out freely. Well, you can't anymore. There are so many rules and regulations that you can be indicted for anything. Anybody in the United States can be indicted. I saw recently that Roger Stone was indicted, and it seems to far-fetched. The indictment doesn't read. Roger Stone was a political operative and a close friend of President Trump's. But the indictment doesn't talk about any actions with Russia. The indictment talks that he lied to Congress about something. Far, far, far away from the original accusation of in collusion with the Russians. Something's gone awry. It seems now that it's a political witch hunt. What they were to investigate seems to have gone by the wayside. And that's sad. We need to reform the criminal justice system. We need to reform the FBI. Yes, there are hardworking men and women, but the people in charge of the FBI and the Justice Department overstepped the bounds. They should be indicted and sent to jail if they did. If they launched an investigation on the President of the United States, they can launch the same investigation on anybody that wouldn't have the resources or power to fight back. This is wrong. We need to put criteria for arrest and indictment. The arrest of Roger Stone was carried out, I guess, by 50 officers of the FBI in the middle of the night to have major impact. Roger Stone would have turned himself in. What was the purpose of that? It was to show force. Wrong. Who is going to start investigating the investigators? Who is going to start investigating the law enforcement when it overreaches? These things need to be done. Government is there to serve the people, not the other way around. The people serve the government. No. Government is there to help people with a set of rules. Congress has failed to use their supervision powers to curtail the abuse in the judiciary system. They need to say, no, you cannot do this. He should have been allowed to turn himself in. Coming in the middle of the night with loudspeakers and ramming irons to bust the door down. That's outrageous behavior.
Sounds like a Hollywood movie.
Yeah, it does. It really does. It was done to have impact to scare
It's
them.
intimidation factor.
Right.
All it was.
That's to scare them.
Yes.
And to try to get them to turn. Not good.
They do that all the time, though.
But that's wrong. That people should be summoned into court, and if they don't appear, then they should go get them. The fact that they had to fingerprint them and arrest them, it's an intimidation thing. Gonzalez, the former Attorney General under Bush, was known for doing tactics like this. Not good. Michael Sullivan, the former U.S. Attorney, was known for doing tactics like this. Not good. These people shouldn't hold responsible positions. They have shown that they abused that authority that the voters and the public gave them. Who makes them to the dictators of morality? They shouldn't be in those positions if they're going to try to impose their morality on everybody else. There should be a standard, and the standard should be applied equally to everybody. If, I can see if they're a violent criminal, they go and kick in the doors and they arrest somebody. But you know what? Why not give them the opportunity to turn themselves in? In federal court, you're enhanced by the comments a judge makes to the Bureau of Prisons at the sentencing. Judges should not be allowed to overstate the charge. There should be regulations, and they should be regulated. I think for the first time, the public is beginning to see all the abuses in the criminal justice system. The pendulum has swung too far where law enforcement is not accountable to the public, who they hold their job and who pays their salary.
How much money did it cost to take him into custody?
Probably $500,000.
Could have sent Bonnie Fife and Andy Griffin, and he would have went peacefully.
Why even do that? They could have simply told his lawyer to have him in the courtroom and arraign him. But no, the government wanted to put on a big show. I'm no fan of Roger Stone's, but I mean, it's overreach what was done. Total overreach by the government and no accountability on the action of the government. There was a senator from Milton, Joyce. That was overreach too, what they did to him. It's, the overreach is getting out of hand with the government. It's not good. It's not helpful, and it doesn't. It hinders the criminal justice system in the long run. Hopefully, we'll see an end to it as time goes on. We will see new rules and regulations. We will see that there should be a body that complaints can be filed made up of citizens to review the action of the FBI and the Justice Department, to review if there is abuse going on. It now shows, after the president's been investigated, that you cannot rely on the people in charge to conduct it in a fair and unbiased manner. If that is the case, then there should be a commission set up to review the actions when they are out of thing that can discipline and fire those people. The Attorney General seems to be unwilling. Sessions was unwilling and unable to enforce the rule of law. Thank God he's gone. I think Barr will enforce the rules. I think he will clean up the FBI, and I think he will start cleaning up all the abuse that went on. You have that rogue agent that's now been, thank God, dismissed from the FBI that could decide. He was going to decide the election. He was going to set up the president if he had to. My God. And he still hasn't been indicted. You have the number 2 at the FBI that still hasn't been indicted. When are the indictments going to come, and why hasn't the Justice Department done criminal indictments against them? Is there one separate law for everybody else and a different one for if you're a member of the FBI or the Justice Department? That's what it's saying. And why hasn't Congress stepped in and audited the indictments? A referral from Congress should take things. The Attorney General, if he won't do it, then a special prosecutor should be appointed to investigate what happened. Did they whitewash the Hillary Clinton emails? Those are questions that are still unanswered. If you listen to the Republicans in Congress, they did. The Democrats, they didn't. Schumer recently, his animosity comes across on the TV against the president very strongly. Chuck Schumer needs to go. He's been there too long. He doesn't like the president. He doesn't want to cooperate. He wants to undermine him. It's not the loyal opposition. In this case, it's do everything to get rid of Trump. That's wrong. Trump won the election. Let them beat them at the ballot box if they so can beat them at the next election. That's what you do in America. You don't try to undermine everything that they're doing. I mean, I'd like to hear your opinion. Give us a call at 508-822-1106. I'd like to hear your opinion on the Green fight in Ward 3, if he is going to be able to pull this off. Or if you think he should run or not run. Give us a call at 508-822-1106. This is Larry Novak with Politically Speaking. We will be taking a short break for the advertisers. This is Larry Novak with Politically Speaking, and today we are having open lines just to let you know what is going on locally, I looked at the races all the state legislative and state Senate races. The Democratic Party outraised every Republican candidate running for every office. They bought most of the offices. They spent, in one race, I was for state rep, I think the woman spent $300,000 in one of the Essex districts. The incumbent Republican lost, spent $190,000. That's obscene for state rep, for almost $500,000 from a low visibility office like that. I recall, well, he only spent $12,000, and Oral, who is now the new state rep, spent $40,000. It was a huge difference in expenses.
That's being entrenched. They just have the money, and obviously, the personal loss, obviously, in my opinion, would have been better.
Right.
For the people.
It would be better for the people if they got more involved. I don't believe that the taxpayers, though, should pick up the tab. I've never believed in public financing of campaigns because I believe that leads to more socialism and abuse and more regulation, and they determine how you're going to spend it.
Right.
It becomes an incumbent protection package.
But isn't it a sort of another way where somebody who isn't loaded rich can kind of get in there and be heard?
It never works. It has not worked that way at all.
Because usually those are the better
because they put a limit, and the incumbent is better known, and the incumbent wins.
Well,
what you need to do is to have no limits on campaign contributions, and I think that's where the Supreme Court is heading. I think it's $1,000 in Massachusetts. Take the limit off. Then you have wealthy people that might promote Republican candidates that would give $100,000 to that candidate. That would make them competitive, at least in certain areas. Don't remember, the state is made up of 30% is Democrat, 10% is Republican, and 60% almost now is unenrolled.
Yeah.
What we're seeing is a trend heavily towards the unenrolled voter. But the unenrolled voter tends in those lower offices because the Republicans have no name ID to vote for the Democratic incumbent, which is not a good thing. You need to spend the time. And you need to spend the time, and you need to get it organized in that area. You need to get people involvement. You need grassroots involvement. You need people going door to door in neighborhoods again, taking a candidate around, and that's where the Republicans fail. They don't do a lot of that. They've been invisible in some of those areas. It is the same thing that happens in those county offices because Timmy Cruz and Joe McDonald in Plymouth County are better known. No Democrat can get elected because of the advantage of incumbency and the advantage to raise money. That $1,000 limit favors the incumbent. If you took away the limit, you'd have more competitive races. So I would advocate that the Supreme Court will eventually it's chopped away at the limit, it's chopped away at all campaign regulations. When we even move further on allowing it to be totally open funding. I think you should have to disclose where the money comes from, but I don't think that the rules are written in Massachusetts to favor the Democrats today. They are written to favor labor unions pumping in. I have nothing against labor unions either, because I think people that you don't see people getting involved. They don't like politics. They don't think it affects their lives. But look, it does affect your lives. They write rules. I can make you a criminal tomorrow. I'll write a law that if you wear brown pants, you go to jail.
It's like that of everything. I'm in the,
All law is a rule of society. It doesn't mean that the rule is right. It's they had the votes to get it through. That's what it means. It's a rule of society. All a judge is somebody that knew a governor or a president. It doesn't mean they're the greatest legal scholar under the sun. They were politically connected to get the appointment. You look at the makeup of the federal bench in Massachusetts, the federal judges. You look at Judge Young came out of Governor Sargent's legal office. Judge Stern was the delegate counter for Ted Kennedy. Very partisan man. He doesn't leave his partisan stripes at the door. He goes through in its decisions and follows the dogma of the Democratic Party through and through. President Trump is right. It is, if you get the wrong judge, you get a bad ruling. You get the right judge, you get a good ruling. Their personal biases come into play. It never used to be that way, but it's becoming more pronounced. We need to set up on the federal side a judicial conduct committee made up of citizens of the Commonwealths. I think they should be mandatory retirement at 70 on the federal bench.
Is there a mandatory retirement
No.
for judges at all?
In the state, there is, not at the federal level.
I figured it'd be vice versa.
No.
In my opinion.
No, but it isn't. We need to have, as you see the new movie that's out on the Supreme Court Justice, Ruth Ginsburg. She's 85 or 7 years old in failing health, but she's holding on. She should be retired.
Of course she's got to hang on. I'm sure everyone's telling her to hang on because you got don't want Trump to have anyone.
You want Trump to do it because it would be another appointment.
Appoint anybody.
All right. But this should be a mandatory retirement, if not 70, 80, but they should be retired after a while. Your mind isn't as sharp at 90 as it was at 50.
Say, for instance, if she's in and out of the hospital in the near future, which I hope, hope not, I hope she's fine, can she still do that? Or does she have to retire?
She doesn't have to retire. It is her
What if
decision.
she's not showing up half the time?
She doesn't.
Then it doesn't matter, right?
Doesn't matter. I mean, she's accountable to no one. I think that judges should be held accountable to a judicial conduct committee. Why hasn't the federal government pushed to adopt a judicial conduct committee in each region appointed by citizens of that area to review the actions of federal judges when they yell at somebody in the courtroom? Who are they to lecture somebody? They're there to pass on the right or wrongful of an action. But if they say outrageous things, that they should be held accountable. The body should have the right and the power to remove judges from cases, the right and power to retire judges, and the right and power to suspend judges. There should be no lifetime appointment that isn't they're not held accountable to anybody. Once a president appoints them, that's it. They're held accountable to nobody. Harsh sentencing, it's outrageous. Some of those, they'll say like 120 months means nothing to them. They are the judge. I mean, not good. Let me hear your opinions. 508-822-1106. Do you feel that the federal government can be believed in its statements? Do you feel that the federal government always tells the truth to the voters? Do you believe in everything?
Just the partisan bickering is just overwhelming.
It is, and it's not healthy.
Nothing's getting done.
Nothing gets done. Nothing gets accomplished. I do not believe that the way it is functioning now will continue to function well.
It's not functioning at all, Larry.
It's not functioning, but it's going to come to a head. Nothing gets done. You don't even have competitive elections anymore. And
more people are more excited about a socialist from New York than anybody.
This is true. I mean, a socialist that wants to take your money away from
70%.
you. 70%. And that tells you where the media is. It tells you that the media is left-wing and out of control.
I think there was, she was talking about having Congress give up their pay, but I didn't think she really wanted to give up her pay.
Because to work.
I think Kamala Harris has taken away her oof. I think for some reason more people are going to go for Kamala Harris
Than Warren. I don't think Warren has it. I never thought she had it. I think, she'll probably stay on as senator for a while. But, I mean, she's just a tax. That's all she does. This is Larry Novak with Politically Speaking. If we'd like to hear your comments at 508-822-1106. We've had a discussion on the Green race for school committee in Brockton. There will be a race for mayor in Brockton and the at-large councilors. And can you name one thing the Brockton City Council's accomplished?
No.
No, I don't think anyone else can either. You drive through Joey every day, Brockton. Do you think it's dirty?
I drive through a very little sliver of Brockton, and that area isn't bad.
Okay.
Thatcher Street, yeah. He goes up past the junkyards.
The junkyard.
Well, it's the junkyard, so.
Yeah, so he doesn't see too much of Brockton.
A proud city of champions that's been run into the ground by 50 years of Democratic rule. You have, when you look at the elected officials, you have Michelle Du Bois, a crazy lady who promotes open immigration, who promotes open borders, who attacks, and is one of the nastiest people you'd ever meet. Hopefully the voters should have retired her. The towns voted overwhelmingly against her. The city brought her in. For her failed socialistic programs that nobody wants to contribute to her. Hopefully she'll be retired. Anybody who wants to run can get in touch with me at 781-600-1566. Then you go to the opposite end of the city and you have Cheryl Cronin, the Princess of Easton, who lives off and enhances her personal lifestyle by using campaign money to go out to restaurants. My God. But she's a Democrat, so the rules don't apply. She's a princess, so the rules don't apply. But hopefully, anybody that would like to run, give me a call at 781-600-1566. This is Larry Novak with Politically Speaking. We tell it like it is, and we tell it what's really going on. We don't sugarcoat it. Hopefully, we will see. Everything is going to come out on this border wall. We will see in the next few weeks, 3 weeks, will the government be shut down again? Will Nancy Pelosi already said she is not today going to negotiate on a wall? There is going to be no negotiation, she said. She will not allow funding for a wall. So if that's the case, the president gained nothing by opening the government up again. In 3 weeks, the money will run out, and there will be no further appropriations. Nancy Pelosi wants it her way or the highway. She's going to see. She said to fight through. She doesn't believe in walls. And the president will have to declare in 3 weeks a national emergency and send in the Army Corps of Engineers to build the wall.
To finish the wall.
There's
wall there already. They just need to finish it.
What he should have done is declared the national emergency the other day and gone forward. and then let the Supreme Court make the ultimate decision. Does he have the authority? The vote will come 5-4 that he does have the authority to declare the national emergency in his judgment. The people voted for the president, did not vote for Nancy Pelosi. So the national emergency will then be declared, I would say, in 3 weeks. It will be fought out in the Supreme Court quickly with a favorable decision for the president on a 5-4 vote. In the lower courts, they will enjoin him till it gets to the Supreme Court that will overturn them. Hopefully, we will see this being done. The president is in a fight, and he has to see the fight to the finish. This security issue is bigger than Nancy Pelosi or the president. It is about the quality of life for American citizens. It is about leading a fight worth fighting. Is it worth fighting this fight through to the finish? You owe it, Mr. President, to your voters. They want the wall built. You owe it to them. They put you in office. You articulated this during your campaign runs. They want the wall. Your base will erode like it did when George Bush said, "Read my lips, no new taxes." And then he turned around and voted for new taxes. Your base will leave you, Mr. President, if you don't see this through. Fight Nancy Pelosi to the bitter end. Let the government shut down. Put the blame where it is on the Democrats. They are going to bring the economy to a halt. They have done this repeatedly. See the fight to the finish. It is better to lose than surrender. Nations that lose arise again. People that surrender, nations never rise again. That was stated by Winston Churchill, and it is so true today. You must see the fight to the end. Yes, there will be ups and downs on the fight. You'll get depressed. There will be days that you think victory's close and it won't happen. There will be days that you say, how did I get into this? I don't need this. You have to see this fight through. This is about doing what's right for the country against a left-wing group that wants to totally socialize America.
I think he just exhausted the political system on how he just wanted to go through it. That's why he did not declare the emergency 2-3 weeks ago.
Declare the emergency.
He has no choice now. He will now, but they look bad now because he had 4 or 5 plans, and Nancy Pelosi said, "I will not negotiate. I will not." President Trump said, he came up with all these different. What about the DACA people? They're left out in the cold now.
Right. It looks to me juvenile. It's a high school fight, and you need to get beyond this. We're supposed to be doing what's in the best interest of America. Most Americans want the wall. Build the wall. Why is a minority able to dictate the policies of the country?
Because everyone just caves. That's the problem. People cave. It seems like the one guy who complains about the Christmas tree in the square, and 90 people want it, and the one guy doesn't want it, and everyone gets scared and they take it down. That seems to be the way of everything in the last few years.
Political correctness can only go so far, and then it serves no value. I mean, should you treat people with respect? Of course you should. Going after people individually is not helpful. I recently, hopefully we will see, the fight through to the finish. We will see new people involved, and we'll begin to see more involvement by the public. An outraged public will get these. Joey, get the phone. You're on the air with Larry Novak.
Hi, Larry. Alan Green here.
Yes, Alan.
I understand. I'm getting rumors that David Heike and D'Agostino are going to bury me.
Well, I mean, how can they bury you? You go off and do the work, and they won't do the work. They talk a good game, and you'll be victorious with the voters if you articulate your the goals that you wish to accomplish for the Brockton schools.
Yeah,
Don't
I've got
forget,
the,
Mark's wife works in the
I got
school
the copy of the
Alan.
ballot here.
Mark's wife works in the school department. There was a conflict of interest with that.
Yeah,
And it's
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. They got 8 on the presidential election for the ward committee. They had 8 people in Ward 1.
8
people.
Well, Mr. Heike was in charge of the recruitment at that time.
Yeah.
When he was,
Ward,
let me finish, please. When he was the ward chairman, there was a decrease in the membership. Mr. Heike ran for state committee and articulated a vision. He talks a good game. Words are cheap. Performance is something else. He never has performed. He has been a disruptive element since he moved into the city of Brockton. He thought he'd come in and dominate a political party. He is not somebody that you want in a leadership role. He is somebody that's a disruptor. He doesn't work. He is constantly attacked and spreads rumors about people that are not true.
Yeah, he spread rumors that I cost him a lot of money on his fundraiser. Every person that was on my list came and paid. His people didn't show. He lost money. Whose fault is that?
What showed he had no support among his people, his friends that knew him, didn't think he was fit for public office. They didn't want to support him. That's what it says. They knew him.
He also says he turned down a commission in the Army.
I don't know how he could get a commission. He's a convicted felon.
Right, but he said he turned it down. I don't know any enlisted man, including myself, that will turn down a commission. I know many enlisted men got out, went to college, and then went back in with a commission.
If I remember his criminal record, which was fairly lengthy, he left the scene of property damage, which is a felony conviction in Massachusetts.
That's right.
And once you're convicted of that, you're a felon.
Yeah.
I mean,
D'Agostino, his wife works for the school department.
Oh, I don't know anything about Mark, really. I never have known anything about Mark.
Yeah, well, he only got 2 people. I got the ballot right here. 2 people.
2 people on what, Alan?
In the ward, on the 35.
What ward? Are you talking about
himself?
Ward 3?
People.
Ward 3.
These are the people that want leadership in our party and in.
Alan, you're not telling the public that's listening what you're talking about. It's the Ward 3 Republican Committee. He recruited 2 people, which is not legit.
Out of 35.
Right.
Should have been.
Right. So he didn't have a legitimate ward.
That's right. You need 3.
So you're talking about leadership.
These people.
You're talking about the lack of leadership or performance.
They can't do the job.
They do not perform. They're title seekers.
Yeah, well, yeah. They just want a title and they're under the name.
Right.
I got, 23, 25 members in my committee.
Right. You rebuilt the Ward 3 committee.
That's Ward 3.
Right, you rebuilt it.
They played a game when they reorganized the city committee of electing the officers before they seated the new members who were elected for the ward committees.
Well, they played dirty pool, and they rigged the rules so they wouldn't lose. That's what they did.
They ended up losing the next year.
Right. I mean, because they didn't do anything once they obtained the positions.
They just like titles.
I don't even think Mr. Heike came to vote that night, did he?
Yes.
Oh, he did?
Yeah, Heike was there looking like a Gestapo agent.
Of course, he's been a disruptive element since he moved to Brockton. He's always found fault, but he doesn't do anything to make it better.
I tried to help him when he was running. I was the first one that gave him a donation.
Well, I mean,
and he just
that talks about
wasn't
judgment.
doing anything.
That
And
talks
he got
about
called
judgment.
To active duty.
That talks about judgment. He did he act? He got called to act, or did he want to go on active duty? So that he didn't like the campaign, and he was going to be defeated anyways. He didn't work on the campaign.
No, he did not.
He didn't want to do the work going door to door. He didn't want to go out and meet the voters. He thought he should be crowned a prince without doing the work.
Well, they crowned him okay.
Right. But I
Now
mean,
he also blames me for getting fired at State Street Bank. He's passing that rumor around again. If I had the juice to get him fired, wouldn't I have had the juice to get myself a nice cushy job there?
well, I would hope so. But so you didn't have anything to do with him being discharged from
I
State.
had nothing to do. I didn't even know he worked for State Street.
Right. State Street Bank, which is a bank that isn't a commercial bank anymore. It simply does bonds and stocks. It records them. It's a custodian bank. It is very interesting to see that the discussion of Mr. Heike, Mr. Heike is a Brockton resident and runs inbrockton.com. He also ran for Republican State Committee and lost every precinct in the city, again, to me, at the time. He was somebody that has a tendency to is not electable in that area. He would never win any office in the city of Brockton. He attempts to impose his sense of morality on the public. That never wins, Alan. The public, you have to listen to the public and let them tell you what they want in an elected official. He would never do that.
Well, what's Heike running for now?
Well, who knows? Probably your job.
You mean vice chair?
Vice
you gotta
chair.
work.
I mean, but Mr. Heike likes titles, and that must be the next title he wishes. The title seeker, David Heike.
Didn't he have city committee chair?
No, he was Ward 1 chair, and he ran it into the ground. You saw how many people, 8 from 35. No money, no bank account, never held a
I had that
meeting.
same problem with Ward 3. No bank account.
Right, no, never opened a bank account, never raised any money, never assisted a candidate.
Yeah, we helped John Cruz for state rep. Sorry that he lost.
Right.
But we put our money where our mouth was.
Right, and that's what you have to do when you run candidates. It is about a vision. It's about.
Oh, I get regards from you from my son.
Then tell your son I said hello.
That's who I was talking to.
Tell Jackie I said hello.
I shall.
It's about a vision for the future, and if you don't have a vision, and then you are not, you don't win. It's not about promises. It's about performance. It's about doing something positive. Mr. Heike in that crowd, they're critical, but they don't do anything positive to make the situation better.
They've got a wonderful track record. Negative, negative, negative.
And they don't contribute. They don't support. They're critical.
I didn't see a check come in for John Cruz or for Timmy Cruz or.
No, because he's not running. He only gives money when it's to his advantage.
Yeah.
And he's no longer doing that for that office, so he's trying to think. He runs, and he's run that into the ground, inbrockton.com. I think it's got 300 members.
I think I logged on to that thing about 8-9 years ago.
Yeah, it was all
a joke then.
Right, and it's still the same thing as it does, same thing as he does now. But it was interesting for you to call. We are going to be signing off shortly. We've done
I just want to say to the voters, vote for Green for school committee. I am not going to be buried.
Right. Green will get out and work his rear end off. He's going to be announcing shortly. He's going to put his campaign committee on paper shortly. We hopefully this week.
God willing, and the creek don't rise.
Well, hopefully, and we'll move on. Thank you for the call. This is Larry Novak with Politically Speaking, and next week we will be airing the political discussions that will be going on.
I just want to mention real quick, several EU nations have given Venezuela's Nicolas Maduro 8 days to call elections, or he will be thrown out.
Well, I would think that military action in Venezuela looks more like it's going to happen. I would imagine Colombia's troops are on the border, and I would imagine that Venezuela's armed forces could not beat or sustain any attack from the United States. And Russia, so sphere of influences in South America would have very little impact. So, I mean, China and Russia can threaten all they want. The United States, it's our sphere of influence, cannot, should not, and will not allow another communist dictatorship in the Southern Hemisphere. This is Larry Novak with Politically Speaking. Join me next week.